And we're live! Hello, everybody! And welcome to Us with the Green Screen.
Hello.
It's Christmas! Merry Christmas! We have Tiramigo in the background as the first slide in this. So yeah, this grew out of us actually really liking... Wrong slide! Yeah, we're doing Primary Mecha. Primary Mecha tier ranking, you can thank a combination of things. One being TJ Omega doing this for Transformers. Two being Team 4-Star starting to do this. And yeah, we're also the other reason being we really like King Oger this year. And it got us to thinking, how do these all stack up to each other? And yes, hello chat. Excuse me if I'm still adjusting things because I don't have proportions for all this. They're at the best yet, because
we're still, it's a little bit of a learning curve.
Yeah, and I've never done a tier listing video before. So yeah, this is going to be us kind of winging it a bit. So yeah, King Oger got us thinking about, wow, this is a really well-designed mech. How does this actually compare to all the other really good mecha of Super Sentai? And thus, here we are. So yeah, I kind of been finagling with these for a while now and what would actually be good categories. So obviously, we're doing Primary Mecha today. And Primary Mecha being the ones that usually get the most attention in Super Sentai to varying degrees, and Power Rangers. And also tertiary stuff, second category would be Secondary Mecha. It's self-explanatory. It's the second one's usually introduced. Sometimes it's team use, sometimes it's autonomous. Then we have the ones that actually form weapons or alternate arms for everybody. Then we got the 6th Ranger and Extra Ranger ones, which would be a combined category for the simple reason of some remain standalone, some are eventually combinable into the Super and Ultra combinations, and you know, there are a few wiggle room ones where it's like they're neither. We've got the auxiliaries, which are usually the one-person pilots or their support mecha or their base builders. We've got the movie introduction and crossover category. We've got super combinations, and we've got final introduced and ultimate combinations. Oh, and also villain mecha. So yeah, those will be the usual, if we continue past doing this today, because I was literally down to the wire, you can kind of hear my voice, trying to get everything all set up for this. So yeah, we will not, however, be counting, like, fan-created stuff. Like, that's an example of me screwing around with the mini-plot for different Ryu soldier combinations. We're also not going to include extra canonical stuff, like the extra canonical Gout Ranger mechs that did show up in the last episode, but we really didn't get a chance to see what they could do. I am actually building those out of the SMP parts, off and on. If you guys have not been following me on Twitter, that is my current progress. I've built like 30 of them, or repainted and remodeled a bunch of them. We will not be counting other concept art stuff like the Zoo 3 Dino Megazord. Like, that is still a really cool design. We're not doing anything with that. We're not counting the comics. And we're not counting Boom-Jer. I say it like that to pronounce it correctly, because we literally just got the teaser for it yesterday, for anyone who comes to see this later. I have Alexis here because I wanted a second opinion, and the chat is welcome to chime in on that, and I see that the chat just brought up Boom-Jer themselves about what would likely not show up in this.
If the mech had been shown off yet, we would have probably given it like a passing mention, but since it's so new, we have no context for what it can and can't do yet.
What it will end up doing, yeah.
Right, so like, how could we properly judge it on that merit, you know?
Yeah. So I just want to give you examples of what we're not doing, just so everybody has examples of our expectations for this. I know the comics have been doing a lot of original Megazords. I don't care. It's not something I'm interested in. I've not engaged with any of the comics. Zoo 2 is the Zoo 3 upgrade Dinozords are cool. Again, we didn't see them aim in action. Extra canonical ones, same thing. Boom Boom Merger, same thing. So, as for categories, greatest of all time, only one is going there. Also, we have King Oger in its own category because the show is still running. It is technically unfair to rank it the GOAT because we were kind of leaning that way anyways.
Yeah, but it's also, but since it is so new, it's like new hotness bias, you know?
Yeah. I'm forgetting the confirmation bias. It's like we're constantly being exposed to it week to week and enjoying the show so much. Speaking of, we feel like it does not have a single bad episode yet. I'm not sure if anybody agrees to that, but that's our take on it. If you wanted us to name the worst moment of it, that would be the first King Kyoryujin battle. It's just, that was bad. Peak is for everyone that's going to be a competitor for greatest of all time. Hype is the ones we get really engaged with. Acceptable is
like, it's not bad, but like not great either.
Uninspired, of course, lower tier designs. Clearance are the ones that we feel have greater flaws. This will probably be more populated by early mechs because they didn't know what they were doing, and some of the more recent ones the last 10 years that also seem like they lost the plot. And Donate is going to be the equivalent of GOAT, but in what we feel is the worst Super Sentai mech overall, with exception to Zenkaiger, because we just hate everything from Zenkaiger, so we're taking it off the list for judgment, to be more fair to those who do like it. We should probably actually I should swap where Zenkaiger and Donate are to be a bit more clear on that. Because we generally feel it's that bad, but we're not going to be mean to it unnecessarily. Excuse me while I change the color tier ranking. So yeah, that's how that is all going to be set up. I am rescaling everything so it kind of better fits. Again, I was kind of rushing it because I had to redo all the images because WebP sucks.
Yeah, but
yeah,
this should be fun.
And we're starting off with Very Bloon. And if, excuse me if I scroll around the tier maker, they did not put these in order. I like Very Bloon.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was the one that's... It's not exactly a traditional mech, but it's the one that started it all. And, like, this was back when Super Sentai hadn't quite figured out, like, if they wanted to do mechs or something yet, you know?
Yeah, to be fair, Leopardon was really what started in live action. Mazinger started it first for just Toei Productions as the first piloted mecha in fiction. So, yeah, that's going... Very Bloon, I like the design. I wish it had gotten a DX re-release and a mini-plot that were compatible with Gokaiyo, but I don't think Toei and Bandai were really thinking about things in those terms yet, as they did with the full-action Kyoryujin this year. So, we're gonna set that acceptable for now.
That's acceptable, like...
To just set expectations. Then, Sky Ace.
This is Jax.
This is Jack Dengekitai.
It looks pretty... I would say that I had the same feelings on it with Very Bloon, and
I like it a bit more because it feels like it more of a fortress than a fortress, somewhere they could actually, you know, work and do activities, and whereas Very Bloon's just, you know, a VTOL with more stuff. So I'm gonna tier it above.
Oh, and let me address Sally McGee in the chat. We're counting these planes because I know somebody would have asked why wouldn't they be in there if we didn't include them.
Mecha are machines in general, but this is kind of the limit because Go Ranger and Jack don't have anything equivalent, and what they do aside from these are more support vehicle based than giant robots. This is the closest tier they get, and it would be wrong to not count them.
Right.
And next up is, yes, he's here, Leopardon.
Yeah, listen. He may not be
he is Sentai adjacent.
Right. And, like, he is the undefeatable god-slaying machine. He cannot be stopped. He will toss his sword at you, and you will have no choice but to die.
Seriously, Dan Slot, what the hell? Spider-Verse. I really actually hope it shows up in the third Spider-Verse movie because there are so many people who just do not know about Leopardon.
I would put him in hype because it's like, the insanity of Spider-Man in a mech that could transform into a jet that has a sword and shield and it has an undefeated win streak. Like, is that not awesome?
I actually kind of rate it uninspired because I'm not a fan of the design.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's not really balanced. It kind of has a bad transformation, and I have actually seen every episode of the Spider-Man series when I did it for review purposes, and oh my god, the Mecha battles in that series got old fast. So I am... Okay, a lot of people are rating it higher, so... I'm gonna go with you and say hype and go push it with hype.
Like I would say that I think other hype mechs will come later, and it can slide down the hype scale.
Yeah. Another I should have brought this up earlier, but for those who have never done a tier list, most people just do them randomly. We're going to be bell curving it so that acceptable will have the highest amount of mechs in it. With hype and uninspired rating from there. Like, the lower it goes unacceptable, the more they'll be downgraded to uninspired and so on. So minimum amounts will go in Zenkaiger, go just to have it make sense to us. Okay, so onwards to actually official Sentai Robo. Battle Fever Robo.
Yeah. The one that doesn't transform, it's just a Robo.
I kind of hate this design.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the worst thing we will ever see, but it
is Leopardon-esque, but worse because it has those same binders on the sides. I know they're supposed to be weapons, but I'm not a fan of any of the Zenkaiger designs, but I feel like Battle Caesar Robo did it better. That was Stay Caesar's mech.
Yeah.
So, if there's no arguments, I'm going to rank it clearance.
And also I really don't like how it's it's samurai themed. It's clearly leaning towards one nationality when we're dealing with a multinational team. So
it's defensible in the eyes of Toei, and I'm not sure if it was designed by Plex, since that's the one for most of the later ones, but Toei at the time did not know what they were doing.
I mean, does Toei ever know what they're doing?
Fair. Okay. Daidenjin.
Daidenjin.
The first of many blue robots in Showa Super Sentai. We got the SMP of this recently, and honestly, it was...
I like it. I mean, it's harmless. It's a bit blocky. This was in an era when, okay, we got ourselves a transforming robot, but proportions, and how it transforms, was just still it was still learning what worked and didn't work. So the lower legs are you
can see the socket where the actual suit actor's leg is, so I'm gonna put it bottom of acceptable for now. It'll probably go lower later.
Right.
And yeah. Moving on. Sun Vulcan Robo.
Now this one is a bit more dynamic in the colors balancing.
I think it's too busy.
It's a bit
It's I feel like Daidenjin is a bit more balanced than this.
Yeah,
especially you got to factor in that it's also the first transforming Robo, and it's just the jet landing on two stakes that become its legs.
Yeah, when you put it like that,
and it's a crane tank, and it's no.
Okay.
Daidenjin did things better as a single jet that transformed. Golgo 5, Golgo Robo. This kind of feels like the same problem, but in red.
Yeah, it's it's too red for its own good. Or, we'll see later in the list that there are mechs that have an overwhelming amount of red, but this doesn't work for some reason.
No, even with it as a combiner, they didn't know how to do combiners well either, and I honestly think it's worse than Sun Vulcan.
Yeah, yeah, and also the Conehead.
The Conehead
Yeah,
is
we
a
will
problem with other.
We will see a lot of Coneheads.
Ironically, we have not seen the movie Coneheads.
I have.
Yeah. Dino Robo. I'm trying to find it on the list. Yeah, kind of the same problem, but again in blue.
Yeah, it's again like what you'll see in a lot of the Showa era ones is that we're not trying to be mean to the Showa era, but like considering how well executed later down the road mechs can be, like you look at the early days and it doesn't age
the first
the best.
several are pretty bad.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I would rate this down in clearance. Personally.
Clearance.
Yeah. On the other hand, Bio-Robo.
Bio-Robo slaps.
No, this is top of hype for right now.
Yeah.
Because, we got the super mini plug for these. The two connecting jets, that was perfect. Its armaments are great. It felt like there was an actual transformation from the jet boosters on the bottom portion turning into the feet.
Mm-hmm.
It actually folds down smoothly in the back from the top cone head. Bio-Robo from every compilation I've seen of Bioman's content is actually a really good mech overall.
Yeah, and trust me, you get a better appreciation for this thing when you actually build it, and because that combination is so seamless. You know?
It's them actually knowing how to color contrast correctly as well with Bio-Robo.
Oh yeah, this was the start of something pretty awesome here.
Yeah. Changeman, though, goes back to the Conehead problem with the Change Robo.
Although it now starts the whole Sword of the Shield gimmick,
which worked better with some than others, and I'm looking on the tier list to actually see where it went. Yeah, there's just too many of these on here. Did not get on here. I don't think it's on here.
No, it's there. Right there.
Okay, yeah.
This is why Alexis is here.
Yeah, I was looking right past it. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, so Change Robo, it's the same problem. Like, the yellow this time is throwing everything else off.
Right, if maybe that yellow was blue, perhaps, who knows, but...
Yeah, it's another clearance one for me. And then we have Flash King. I
like Flash King. I know its transformation is weird, but I've seen some of Flash Man, and the way it fights is actually, I like,
Its transformation is arguably one of the worst combinations. It's two fighter jets unfolding, and then a tank lifting up, and then the fighter jets slide all the way through to become both a leg and an arm together. That loses points for me. But it is aesthetically pleasing.
Now, before we continue, Plumfadoodle is asking what's wrong with Coneheads. Nothing is wrong with a Conehead exactly, but it's such an odd design for a head.
I know it's based off of several styles of Japanese samurai helmets, which are designed that way to add protection to the head, because then it won't dent down and possibly bruise someone's head.
Right.
Or, crack them open by accident. And that's why Fours was designed like that. But Fours has more of a defense in that it was, space shuttle themed. Whereas with, the Conehead design doesn't really work as much for Mecha because, well, usually, unless the pilots are using the cockpit in the head, there's no reason to really protect it like that.
And also, the Conehead is that, the Conehead part itself, doesn't contrast well with the rest of the unit that will probably be super bulky and stuff.
Especially if it's so big. It's a machine. It can be retracted if they wanted to. So a lot of these don't work because of that. Other pointier heads or helmets have worked in other periods. We're not listing them all, but it's a general aesthetic where it throws everything else off. So yeah, we're placing Flash Titan.
Or Flash King.
Flash King. I keep wanting to say Flash Titan for some reason. I'm gonna go acceptable.
Acceptable, yeah.
Yeah, I intentionally chose a dynamic one because I don't dislike it.
Mm-hmm.
Onwards. 5 Robo.
Yeah, 5 Robo.
No, sorry, Grade 5.
Grade 5.
That it confuses me because there is also a 5 Robo. It's the Masked Man mech that's called the Grade 5 because it is the first 5-point combination mecha in Super Sentai. And I so want an SMP of this thing.
Like, this thing, for like, talk about coming out swinging with a 5-point combiner, you know?
Yeah. The only thing that's off is just the gun at the hip like that.
And I feel like Super Sentai really helped. Okay, 5-point combiner, multiple combining mechs have been a thing in like the mecha genre for like a while and stuff. But man, there's something about like getting 5 robots together into even more aesthetically pleasing, bigger combination.
I think this was after Go Lion.
Well, I think it might have been.
Might around that time?
Possibly. Yeah, that sounds about right.
But yeah, Grade 5 is up there with Bio Robo for me of the show.
Yeah, definitely
Sentai
hype.
mechs.
And I think if we got an SMP of it, that would even be more hype.
Yeah. Moving on. Live Robo.
Peak.
Peak.
It is peak.
First animal combiner, which did it really well. It's got the back cannons. It's got the sword. I kind of just like the shield and feel like it should have a section that folds down. But that is engineering limitations for Toei and Bandai at the time. So I feel like the Super Mini Plot and especially the SMP Alternate Destiny that released recently should have that, but I'm not going to hold it against it.
Yeah, but it's peak. Like, again, there's the historical significance of not only of the first animal themed combiner and stuff. And it's funny because other mechs would be named after animals, but none of them were actually the animals themselves, you know.
Just to say this to start, the face on my chest is only a decoration. But yeah, we cannot hate Live Robo.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on.
I hate it.
No.
Like, I want to throw Turbo Robo or whatever the heck its name is. Throw it in the trash. I hate it. Let me pop off on this thing because this thing sucks. It sucks so hard. Here's why it sucks. The actual transformation, if you look it up on YouTube, the actual transformation involves the most bare basic combination sequence you will ever see. And the fact that 2 of the components are just, they don't actually transform. It just sticks puts its shoes on.
Shoe skate.
Yeah,
shoe skate cars.
And there will be other vehicle-based mechs that have that wheel skate thing going on, but execute it better. The fact that 2 components don't actually transform, you just slap it on the bottom of the legs, that sucks. That just outright sucks.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it on the list. Where are you? So yeah, it's going in clearance as soon as I find where it is. Boot. There it is. But yeah, bottom clearance for the moment.
There are like only a few mechs in all Super Sentai that I outright dislike.
Like, again, Battle Fever Robo is bad, but they didn't know what they were doing.
Right.
This is deep into them knowing what they should have been doing.
Yeah, and considering like Live Man was literally, we just had a Live Robo, like, what was the excuse here, you know?
Yeah. 5 Robo. Aesthetically the same. That docks at points.
It's just...
It's like, I actually confuse Turbo Robo and 5 Robo all the freaking time.
And it just looks... It doesn't have anything that stands out. If you conjured up, like, generic, you know, Toku Robo 101, I think this is what you would get.
Yeah, it at least does not have the stupid skating feet, so I'm not going to rate it bottom of clearance, but it's definitely down there.
Yeah. TTK Blazer said it looks like a bootleg Land Blazer from Dagarn. Dagarn, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and the trailer mode for... I included these too. The trailer mode for 5 Robo. 5 trailer. Yeah, that's clearance too.
Yeah, it's just...
Like, it's supposed to be it's one of a few one-episode Fortress or vehicle mode transformations that's just... No.
Mm-hmm.
It just, as an example, we do have alternate forms as their own entries, so you will see 3 for Time Robo.
Right. Because like those robos, we'll cross that. We'll discuss more when we cross that bridge.
Meanwhile, Jet Icarus. This thing is very aesthetically pleasing.
Very. Like, but you cannot go wrong with the gold bird insignia on its chest.
Burn Man! Hell, I actually regret when I reviewed Jetman years ago that I forgot to include the transformation sequence, so I just had it play over the end credits. That actually got it flagged, so of course I could not cross-post to YouTube once I started more using a YouTube channel.
But like Jet Icarus, like, yeah, would you, I kind of want to put it in.
I want to say top of hype for the moment.
Type of hype.
Yeah. And moving on to Icarus Haken. This thing is a fortress.
Yeah, that thing, it looks like it's gonna ruin your day. It is going to slam into you. And doesn't it just like straight up ram into its opponent?
I'm not sure if it's this one that does it or it's the Great Icarus Haken.
But the point is, like, that's a bird fortress, you know?
Yeah. Actually, because of chat, I am going to notch Jet Icarus up to peak, but I'm leaving it Icarus Haken at hype simply because it is a strong unit like that, but it basically only has just the one thing.
Right.
But with everything else dealt with, you know what that means. We're at the MMPR range in Heisei.
This is when...
So, Dai's Eugene, aka the Dino Megazord.
Like, okay, this, can I say something hot? A hot take? I don't have as much reference for the Dino Megazord as I once did, if only because I am so sick of it being popped up in MMPR nostalgia baiting merchandise.
Yeah, it is horribly harmed by nostalgia baiting because it is not the best mech that has been adapted into Power Rangers. It is far from it, and yet nostalgia baiting will not allow people to let it lie. And unfortunately, that kind of knocks it down into the acceptable range for me.
Right.
Like,
it's definitely acceptable, but like if you like when it comes to how we're ranking things, we're not trying to like put favoritism because
we're trying to avoid favoritism.
Yeah. And I'm just gonna be honest, like, you can only see the Dino Megazord so many times before you, like, get sick of it. You know?
Yeah, and unfortunately, we are far past the range of being sick of it. Not helped by how they fucked it up in the CGI sequences they did for Once and Always and Cosmic Fury. Like, how did you get the fucking proportions wrong on that?
Oh, yeah.
Too wide a body, too small of arms. And I hate that because there was nothing preventing them from getting the goddamn suits. They had just used them for Zenkaiger.
Now, that's not to say Zyuranger is completely devoid of great stuff. We will discuss that at a later time, but for now...
Yeah, honestly, considering I'm not a fan of Zyuranger, I don't hate it outwardly because it's harmless, but yeah, I rated under the Go Ranger and Jack fighters because... Again, they didn't know what they were doing, but they actually looked good for what they were doing.
And also the first
then.
one based off of ancient animals and stuff, so...
Yeah. Like, every other dinosaur-based one is genuinely better than this, as we will get to later in this. Dino Tanker.
Okay, I know I hate Dino Megazord, but I gotta admit, there's something kind of raw about that.
It looks good, so it's still in the acceptable range, but I'm willing to put it top of acceptable.
Yeah, and also I will give points for any mech that can like go from seamlessly shift from one mode to another mode. You know,
just by standing up.
Yeah, it's just standing up, but it's the way it's doing it. You know?
It's unfortunately limited to by the Sentai footage, but I feel like there were situations where the show would have benefited from actually using the tank mode more, not just to advertise the toy every time when it's just combining like it is. So yeah, top of acceptable.
Burn it.
Burn it.
Burn it.
No,
burn it.
This was one of the worst things in the 2017 movie. Who improved this idea.
What is this monstrosity?
Why do the Zords in that movie completely disassemble to form this? The point of combiner robots is each of the pieces links like their internal reactors to benefit, like they can distribute power utilization or different means of what's necessary for the combination, or they have a spiritual angle to their everything, and it's just no.
Look at it. Burn it. They're all saying.
Now
I look. AJ finds it's like.
Now I will make one caveat. The 2017 Megazord is not going to get donated because it is just kind of the same reason as Zenkaiger, but I could not give its own category without giving away.
They're all. We're sorry, chat. We had to inflict this upon you.
This is legitimately the worst thing the 2017 movie did.
Yeah, like that is a sin against mecha design.
Here's the thing. I like the 2017 movie for what it is. It needed another round with a script doctor to fix its major dialogue issues, but plot-wise, I'm okay with it. It also could have used like less of a training arc. I think they should have kept the martial arts angle in to speed through it, but for what they were doing with it, I'm not going to penalize it more. But that fucking monstrosity.
Oh God, on David's brain. It's the Bio Broly of Sentai mechs.
Yeah, it is.
That is.
It is.
Oh, savage.
Yeah, again, it's disqualified from donated because it's technically a movie mech, but I had to put it in there because it is the primary mecha. Come back for our movie list. Our movie exclusive list. It will be a competitor there. It's just, it's double posted because it is the primary mech of the movie exclusive Power Rangers team. Ryuseo.
Okay.
I am overruling any arguments. This is peak. I spent 4 years taking this everywhere as a kid.
It was his guardian dragon buddy.
Yeah, I need to find it on the list because Ryuseo slaps. It is fully articulate and posable in the original DX toy, with exception to wrist articulation. But it had an elbow joint, it had shoulder joints, it had knee and ankle joints. Its hips rotated. This thing was glorious. It did not have waist rotation.
Yeah, but
the SMP has waist rotation. But
it did things that no other mech up until that point did.
And the fact that there was a period where they preferred to use that instead of going straight to Daireno, aka the Thunder Megazord. It's like, no, this is what it should have been followed for mecha designs for a while. And in fact, Plex now considers Ryuseo to be the first 0.5 mech, a independent use mech by one or more of the primary team members that later combines into the primary mech, as would later be seen with Go Buster Ace and Kishi Ryu-O, which are also on this list. I am including 0.5s because it makes sense, because they're still technically primaries and pieces of the primary mech.
And there's still a mech that like they're the ones that we first start out with, you know?
Yeah. Moving on. Daireno. Again, I took this everywhere with me for a couple years because obviously I had them docked on my Red Dragon Thunderzord toy, but no, this is the Odette is playing with stuff in the background. This is doing that same aesthetic, but putting it in Chinese warrior. I'm forgetting this specific type of Chinese warrior that uses this aesthetic of the armor.
But whatever you want to call it, it's warlord like of steel just looks amazing.
Yeah, as Peace just posted in the chat, there is not a bad mech design in Die Ranger / MMPR Season 2. And even the fight scenes are really good and well thought out and methodical in that season. In fact, I deliberately scoured the internet for this specific picture of it executing its finishing move. The only downside of it is I don't think they ever used the spear that you can form out of the Phoenix's tail and the staff from Ryuseo.
Also, I've been noticing Uninspired looking a bit lonely. I would honestly put like the 5-man robo, like, you know, this guy, this one, like in Uninspired, because Like, it doesn't.
Oh yeah, it is a clone.
Yeah, like, it doesn't elicit any negative reaction, but it doesn't, like, make me feel positive either, you know?
Fair. Anyways, I'm because I'm such a big fan of Ryusei slash the Red Dragon Thunderzord, I don't want... I'm putting it at bottom of peak because it's kind of a duplicate.
Right.
So it's not... if we're going to do... If it ends up being our GOAT consideration, it's going to be one or the other.
Alright, now we're gonna get...
Muteki Shogun, aka the Shogun Megazord. This is here instead of the Ninja Megazord because it is in Sentai release order. The Shogun Megazord was actually used for longer in the stock in Kaku Ranger. So it got technically used for longer in MMPR's adaptation of that footage in season 3 because it was kind of half and half on that. To not even get into the Alien Rangers side of that season. I actually like the aesthetic of this more, but the issue with the mech was its shoulders were too bulky, so the stock footage kept having to limit how much it was on screen because the suit actor couldn't move his arms correctly.
Yeah, it's like they... Now, for a castle aesthetic, it looks amazing, but I think they succeeded too well.
And yeah, that kind of docks it points down from hype to the acceptable range for me.
Yeah.
It's like, I love this thing, but the fact they couldn't actually use it as much as other primary mecha, which I think was factored into following designs with larger shoulder design mechs.
Even Mini Hood says, never a fan of Muteki Shogun personally.
Yeah, I think that's why they went overly slim with
Kakure Daishogun?
Kakure Daishogun, yeah.
And Joey Nakao said it's too bulky.
Yeah. Again, I love the aesthetic of this, and I get why they swapped it in MMPR, but just it's unfortunate that it had that design limitation to it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to actually, because Daisuujin is more functional, I'm actually going to rate it about here.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. O-Ranger Robo! I love O-Ranger Robo.
Oh, really? How much do you love it?
It's like, it is the blue aesthetic done correctly. It is symmetrical as hell, even with the divergences between the two, and playing with this in pieces, like having it's not a bison, it's a bull. Yeah, bull. The bull and the Sphinx pulling the artillery units with the Firebird flying overhead. That was an amazing use of cinematography for the smaller figures.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to put it at bottom of hype.
Bottom of hype, yeah.
Yeah.
And what should we do about the helmets?
The helmets changed a lot of the aesthetic, so I don't want to group them just based on the rest of it. Toro Head is just physically brutish, so I kind of want to say uninspired because it doesn't really give more than physical strength.
Yeah, and it's just, but he's got a new hat.
He's got a new hat. Pyramid Power!
Sphinx!
I kind of want to go acceptable because then it unbalances the gold.
Yeah. Get a Pharaoh thing going on.
Yeah. Vulcan Head, which doubles as rocket boosters for some reason, even though Vulcans are not rocket boosters. It definitely has utility for getting them out of space, but then the problem with O-Ranger's mecha is their special abilities rarely get used.
Yeah, so I want to say uninspired.
Another uninspired. I think that's how they're going to be grouped. But yeah, Cannon. What's that hairstyle that
Pompadour?
Pompadour. Cannon Pompadour.
No, do you know what this looks like, man? It looks like a He-Man toy.
Or a Dio music video.
What now?
Crack that whip.
Oh yeah, Devo. Yeah,
Devo.
Yeah, no. Dio is our Lord and Savior who has the power to stop time and will suck our blood. Okay.
And for some reason, cross dresses.
Yeah, or for whatever.
Yeah. So I want to say better than Sphinx, but still acceptable.
Yeah.
RV Robo, aka the Turbo Megazord.
Okay, so I I know, like, if you catched our streams, we will occasionally bash Car Ranger to some extent. This, however, is...
I don't think the mech is bad.
It is not bad.
It is the beginning of a green and yellow relationship. A lot of... I shouldn't say I shouldn't say the beginning, because they also did this with previous series, but for some reason, the yellow Sentai member and Power Ranger has a common issue of being a leg. And this is where it's kind of most overt.
Right.
One of the times I should misphrase. For some reason, it's mostly the left leg.
Yeah, like Dustin Simone said it best. It's way better than the Turbo Ranger mech, because at least the bottom feet, the legs, actually have to transform it in some capacity for it to, like, do its thing, you know?
Yeah, I think the torso is the strongest part of it, even though I'm not a big fan of the head.
Yeah.
Just you know, and another advantage is the chrome. Like, try and find the old DX toy, the chrome is rotted because chrome plating for plastics was just terrible.
Yeah. But if this got an SMP, I would buy it.
I would buy it too. I hope it doesn't get it for a while, because there are far more deserving Sentai Mecha, but I would buy it.
Oh, and also, before we could move on, the way it actually transforms is, I like it, how it just, everything just crashes into each other.
No, it's much better than how the Turbo Ranger Robo handled it.
Yep.
I'm gonna go acceptable again.
Acceptable.
Yeah, considering it can actually do what it needs to, I'm gonna put it between Muteki Shogun and Daizujin, again, because the aesthetic is better on Daizujin.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on. No, this is peak.
Peak.
Like,
Astro Mega Ship, like...
Galaxy Mega, Astro Megazord, Galaxy Megas XLR. Put that on a before and after Wheel of Fortune
Right,
word.
It's like, this is one of those weird, it kind of harkens back to the Showa era where, like, its design doesn't, like...
The color separation is appropriate, and the way it transforms from the spaceship is...
Yeah.
And the way that the shuttle docks to become the head is like...
It's simple.
If Power Rangers was going to end within space, this would have been the perfect primary mecha to end it on.
Oh, to not speak of, like, how many abilities it has with the sword alone, you know?
Oh yeah, the sword abilities, the fact it has the thruster pack gun, which makes sense if you actually know anything about those type of rocket boosters. The shield that unfolds from the deflector section of the underbelly of the ship.
Yeah.
The fact it has the cannons on the ankles because of how it transforms from the ship, so it could actually be fired like that if they ever thought to do that. And it's like the balance of the white, silver, red, and blue is so aesthetically pleasing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, no, it's dethroning Ryuseo as top of peak. I love it so much. I actually bought a second Super Mini Plow when they did the redistribution this year, simply so I could do a repaint of it into Megas XLR colors. I have not gotten to it yet, but that's why I said that before and after, because it has been stuck in my head ever since. Gengaio, aka the Galaxy Megazord.
I want to say it's actually top of acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, the way the pink and yellow Sentai Ranger members transform into the arms, that works to give a just generalist aesthetic of it. The horns coming out in the transformation help give contrast. The one issue is the green's mech is completely
that's why I say top of acceptable, because like the fact that poor green is just a weapon and can sometimes be on the back, which, to be fair, that's a really nice aesthetic, but like
and they stopped using it to actually become the blowgun rifle launcher. Like,
once they got,
I think, first 10 episodes, 10, 15 episodes.
Yeah, once they got, like, better armaments. And
speaking of which,
the Lights of Orion.
The Shine Gengaio, or the Steel Shield. There are a lot of different names for this. In fact, they call it in Lost Galaxy, they call it the Galaxy Megazord Power-Up Mode. In Apocrypha, it is the Orion Galaxy Megazord. In Gingaman, it is the Shine Gingao or the Steel Gingao. It's like, pick a name.
But point is, what do we think? How do we think about it?
I kind of want to... I think this makes it look better than the base form, not just because of the way the horns are different actually makes it so that, like, its head is shining, and then the torso armor definitely gives a better aesthetic, especially with the animal heads on the shoulders. So I think it's just above it.
Although, look, Media Hood says, "Oh God, that actually looks worse to me," and it's just not a whole lot of extra bells and whistles. You know?
Yeah, it's just more armor in this. And I don't like the base Ginga-O armor. I get that it's more bulky, but it looks better to me.
Mm-hmm.
So just above it, unacceptable.
Oh.
Alexis really loves Go-Go 5.
Go-Go 5 slaps. Look at these epic pants. These are the pants that will save lives. It shoots water. It walks around. These are the rescue pants.
Do you notice anything about that?
What?
Do you notice anything about that?
That
image.
Is that the mini plot?
That is the mini plot.
Yeah.
Except if you were not paying attention, you would think that would be a slide from the show. That is a testament to how good the mini plot was for Go-Go 5. So the fact we're just putting in the pants and considering them bottom of hype.
Bottom of hype.
And now part 2.
Peak. You're putting putting my boy at peak. Look, rescue Go-Go 5's. All their mechs slap. They slap so hard. It's like I
forgot the joke. It's the wrong trousers, Gromit.
Wrong trousers, Gromit. But look, the one thing I absolutely love about Go-Go, this robot here is just how you can see the teamwork. You know, the unity of the team, in that transformation process. You know, in some Sentai, a mech could be formed by one party member snapping their fingers or whatever. But for this thing to work, everybody needs to come together to actually form the Megazord. You know,
yes, it's peak, but where's the green one? It's literally the head. It rests in the torso.
That's the beauty of it. You wouldn't know that. The green jet actually the head the head is actually where the cockpit is. It opens up and just gently docks into place, and it's so aesthetically pleasing. To not speak of how many
fire engine ladder punching arms.
Yeah, the I forget what its exact name is, but it just extendo arm punches you to death, and then it can use those same extendo arms to spin kick you, and then its final attack is a burning
that unfolds from the crest and the torso.
Yeah,
that's like nano armor swords.
It is sick.
Yeah, so I'm not arguing, but I'm not rating it as highly as Galaxy Mega.
Fair.
Because let's face it, they both get better.
They both get better. They both get better.
Top of peak.
No, go over time and space.
Go over time and space. You use time travel to fudge the rankings. Look, Time Robo, aka the Time Force Megazord, is my favorite of the 90s Super Sentai Mecha.
It's just, look,
the fact it has multi-transformation, by the way, we're judging those next.
Mm-hmm.
And time mode alpha is the most aesthetically pleasing of that. I know they labeled it mode red. They went with colors because it makes sense. It does go by color palette differences. But I feel like this is the better one of the three because it's more proportionate.
Also, when it pulls out that sword and the shield combo and stuff.
From the shield comes from the remaining pieces of the pink and yellow units and the remaining units of the red that unfold from that.
But also the press refreezer where it slashes a guy and then it's time up, bump.
Yeah, this is peak for me.
Yeah.
I am patiently waiting for an SMP of this because I unfortunately am not going to pay the absorbent prices for the DX toy, but I know I'm in for a long wait because for some reason Time Ranger is one of the lowest selling Super Sentai series of all time. It's like there are not enough fans for it to win the Super Sentai polls to that Shokugan does to get an SMP re-release figure.
I think if I had to guess, I think there's not like Time Ranger for a long stretch of the show has nothing else. It has like
it's the Ryu Soldier problem. We just finished Ryu Soldier like, last night, guys. It's the Ryu Soldier problem in that it's too episodic.
Too episodic for its
and not
own
enough
good.
Story arc.
And it's not until like the 30s when like the Sixth Ranger shows up
that a stronger story arc happens, which is the advantage of Time Force, in that Time Force tried to fix a bunch of that with making the interim plots kind of intersect, especially because they could introduce those elements earlier, like the Time Shadow and the Q-Rex, in the first third of the show, and then redistribute how they use the Sentai footage along it to redistribute kind of how they would see the story arc.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the Time Force is one of the best examples of you can do what the Sentai did better if you put thoughts and effort into it. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, a lot more recent Power Ranger shows than that have just not done that. Mode Blue, aka Time Robo Alpha Beta. This is too top heavy.
Too top heavy.
I get why it's like this. It's a limitations of the multiform transformation. It is more agile, but the legs are too skinny. It's just too top heavy. So I would go middle hype.
But its finisher's sick.
It doesn't have a finisher.
No, doesn't it have a finisher where it has like a jumping up in the air, like blasting. Doesn't it? Or am I thinking of like the combination?
You're thinking of the combination.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, they always went to Time Robo Mode Alpha to seal anything. Mm-hmm. Whereas this was just the agile wear them down mode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so middle hype. Gamma.
Now we said Jet, like that Jet Icarus jet form was a fortress. That thing causes hurricanes. You know?
Yeah. And I feel like this aesthetically is a bit better than Icarus Haken is. The downside of it is Time Ranger, and by proxy Time Force, did not allow for this mode to combine with the Time Shadow. Which is a missed opportunity because if they could dock that way, you have the two giant Time Shadow cannons on the sides of the back.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like that would make everything so much better. But this on its own, I feel is better than the Icarus Haken because of the curvature that makes it all feel like it's supposed to be one object to begin with. So, top of hype. That's not top of hype. That's not top of hype. Icarus Haken didn't want to go.
I ain't going out like that.
Yeah. John 556, Gamma could have been used more if you ask me. Yeah, sure. Okay, Gao King.
Okay, we can't.
How do we judge this fairly? We bought all the SMPs for it. In my case, multiple times.
Yeah, how do we? Okay,
it's going to be peak. We know that it is one of the more aesthetically pleasing beast combinations with how it assembles everything. Like the mouths for Shark and Tiger becoming the effective hands because it does not have actual fists. The way Eagle combines down on top of Lion's head. The face on his chest is once again just a decoration. And Bison becoming the perfect form of skirt armor.
I would put it above Live Robo.
Yeah,
I would put it above.
Live Robo is very strong, but Gao King does the beast aesthetic better.
Yeah. Because, like...
Oh, and the balance of the Bison lower legs as well.
It's really good.
Yeah.
And the best part is, we're not ranking GOAT just yet. I'm guessing we're gonna, like...
No, we're gonna wait.
We're gonna wait.
We're gonna wait until we have the rest of the list, and then we're going to rejudge what we actually want up there. Peak is all candidates for GOAT. clearance is all candidates for donate.
Yeah.
And then we'll redistribute so we got the bell curve.
Mm-hmm. Next up,
Senpujin, aka the Ninja Storm Megazord.
I would say that's hype.
Yeah, the issue with the Hurricaneger and Ninja Storm mechs is they're one of the few Sentai that have their mechs get better the more they combine down the line.
But, like, as it is, it's still a solid mech. Don't get us wrong, but...
The the shoulder asymmetry is always thrown me off. I generally don't like that when it happens.
Yeah, but when it combines...
it gets better.
Yeah, but we're not here to judge the combined form. We're here to judge it based off of what we see in front of us.
The color balance is also, once again, really good with Senpujin.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we will go bottom of hype for now.
Bottom of hype.
Yeah. Senpujin Hurrier Mode. Yeah, I kind of feel like this is more an acceptable range. I know why it's here, because Senpujin, aka the Ninja Storm Megazord, is really bulky, and ninjas are supposed to be faster, so
that makes sense, but...
It makes sense, but it's not something necessary, so I feel like bottom of acceptable.
Bottom of acceptable.
Now, we hit the second Dino Sentai with Abarenoji. This is the combination that was used once or twice in Abaranger, and I think once in Dino Thunder, where it's just the Tyranno and Tricera combining. It's an alternate mode. It uses an alternate transformation scheme that the toys can do, and it uses the proper combination that is used for the movie exclusive similar Tyranno and Tricera, but they're remolds, but I forget their names off the top of my head, because I think they used them near the end of Dino Thunder, but I don't remember what the name for that was either.
But...
like, it takes advantage of some of Aberono, aka the Dino Thunder Megazord's... Megazord's aesthetic, and I like how they use the drill tail as a spear / sword in this, but it's not Abereno.
I would say uninspired.
It is a bit uninspired.
It's like... It's the just because I can do this form doesn't mean I should do this form.
Yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah. However,
then we get hype.
Now this is a Dino War God.
This is another one I want an SMP of. Like, I want Senpujin simply because I can do Golrai Senpujin Sword and Shield, but it's in adjacent to my love of the Gal Ranger mechs. This though on its own.
Yeah, like
drill arm. And it actually has that drill arm be its actual normal finishing move.
Yeah. And it's just I also love the helmet. You know?
The helmet helps make everything work there.
Like it does, so it's very dynamic and
like it's one of several years where Plex, whoever was doing the design at that stage, was on fire with their mecha design.
Oh yeah, they were just like walking out of the studio every day on fire because of how hype.
Yeah, I want to put a top of hype.
Yeah.
Deca Ranger Robo.
I love this thing.
Yeah.
Dare I say peak?
I honestly don't want to put it peak because it has some issues. Like, I remember the toy for that having the lights effect, and that kind of overrid the rest of how they would actually put it together.
But I'm a sucker for the John Woo like shooting a gun and like moving as if it was an actual person, and
the fact that its primary finishing move is using its gun and not the sword is also different. So I'm willing to compromise for hype.
Definitely hype. Probably below Abereno.
Yeah, but it's still in that range of really good mecha design because I think you could still connect the arms that have been going on since Time Ranger, where they use the same size of pegs.
Yeah, like truthfully, if they announced an SMP of, I would rather they announce an SMP of Deca Robo first. Like, but that because that's just me.
I mean, they have been missing the anniversary windows for a lot of Sentai mechs as of late. They hit Die Ranger and Gal Rangers, but they missed Hurricanegers, they missed Aba Rangers. They're likely to miss Deca Ranger unless they announce it next month.
Yeah, but it's still cool.
Yep. Okay, Magi Dragon.
I'm on a dragon.
You're on a dragon. That instantly makes it on hype for me because you could do this alternate combination.
Like in the toy, like you could actually do it like that. I love it when
they actually did several episodes of it in this combination.
Yeah, it's like it's always a rare. It's always a nice treat when like a toy based show will show you something and you could actually replicate it in the toy, you know.
And it wasn't just a CGI use either. This image is of the actual suit for it, and admittedly, the suit for it is just using the Red's Titan form and then putting on a different pair of pants that have all the rigging for the dragon there, which they would puppeteer, to my understanding.
But it's still cool.
Yeah, all the I have the text document open. Yeah, this worked for us. So, bottom hype.
Bottom of hype.
Yeah. Speaking of hype,
Magi King
with the wings open, which is actually a spell they have to earn to use to make it fly because they had the Magi Dragon form originally.
Yeah, but like Magi King, it is so weird to me that they have not done another magician-based team, like
overtly
magician. But like, I just love the wizard hat. Like
the fact that we got this because they wanted to take advantage of the hype of the Harry Potter movies.
I'd rather watch this over Harry Potter.
Yeah, either Magi Ranger or the Mystic Force version. I'm one of those that likes Mystic Force despite its flaws. I even like the theme song to it because it's at least something different. It's not quite Power Rangers with its preference for rock music, but trying to experiment when things were lagging behind, I'm not going to fault them on it. So I want to put it right above the Magic Dragon. Because again, there were several years where there was an amazing consistency to Super Sentai's designs that unfortunately we're probably gonna have to drop some from hype down to acceptable and acceptable down to uninspired at the rate we're going.
But let's keep going
the Go-Go trailer, aka Mega Truck.
Yeah, we don't really see this. I watched all of both.
It was used once.
It was used all of one, so I would put it in uninspired based on that alone.
Yeah,
because
I'm not arguing.
Because it's like, again, it's a form that can be done, but
and the worst thing is they just fold up the race car and dock down the hovercraft and
the Go-Go jet,
make it
or Go-Go gyro.
Yeah, and make it pull the truck, and the truck does not transform, and the two other vehicles are just resting in it. It is taking advantage of things the combinations already did to support other things to do this combination, and it's... no. Daiboken, aka the Drive Max Megazord on the other side.
Peak.
Yeah.
Peak.
Let me find where it is. Yeah, Alexis recently watched Bokanger, so there's a bit of recency bias.
Okay, but no. Even before Bokanger, I actually really dug this thing. I'm always a sucker for super science-based Megazords. And just, like, the whole, how do I describe it? It's heavy metal awesome, you know?
I have a few complaints. One, the dump truck, the way it unfolds is like there was a big gap in the arm there for even wielding the weapons. Like the sub, I got no issues with. Two is the wheels on the hips. They do not go round and round.
Yeah, it's got some thick wheelie hips.
And I don't want to diss the engine aesthetic for the torso because they were kind of doing a power engine system for
because of like their parallel engine system, and like that central engine helps power up Dump's arm to do the adventure drive, you know?
Yeah. And also, I'm not a big fan of the helmet. I'm glad they swap it around, but even the inner head for that is a bit off.
Okay, to be fair, before it docks the actual helmet on, Daiboken's head is just a little guy.
Nub.
It's a nub.
Yeah, so and I have to agree with the chat, it is a bit too busy.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm going to put it under Icarus Haken.
Under Hickory. Okay, I can live with that.
Mm-hmm. Geki Toja.
This is okay. I may really like Daiboken. This is the most mid mech ever.
I'd actually kind of say it's uninspired. It's like it's a tiger standing on two other cats.
Like, okay, yeah, probably top of uninspired, or no? Would you say top of it's definitely going uninspired, but I don't love this thing, but the more I think about it, I'm like, why is the Geki Tiger just it so dominates the entire combination, you know?
You see, the other thing that's hilarious is I actually recently bought all the Geki Ranger mini-pla simply to study the combination scheme, because its combination scheme from a design perspective actually originates from some of the extra canonical Gal Ranger mecha. And I wanted to study that because, again, I am building all of the extra canonical Gal Ranger mecha, even those who never had a repaint equivalent. So I got it basically for those reasons. Also to study how they designed older mini-pla for stuff. I'm really curious about that.
Mm-hmm.
And I am probably just going to not toss them, but I was happy they were really, really cheap.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually gonna go and put this mid uninspired.
And also the fact that its big finishing attack is the windmill.
Like I know they wanted a more agile mech because of the
martial arts
styling of that series, but I don't think.
But Ryuseo did that way better.
Ryuseo did that way better. And I don't think they really just took advantage of anything, because the mech is overwhelmingly designed to deal with the spinning around gimmick.
Right, and because it's so dedicated to that spinning gimmick, it's to the detriment of everything else.
Yeah. Engino, aka what'd they name this? High Octane Megazord. Okay. Engino is a case where it gets better the more it combines. Like, it reaches that point of so ludicrous and ridiculous that
you can't be.
I love it.
You can't help it. You laugh at the absurdity of what you're witnessing.
Engino, though, on its own, doesn't get that same love.
Yeah,
it's just three living engines stacking on top of each other, and of course the googly anime eyes. At least in Go Onger, they were sentient mecha, so that made more sense. RPM, however, had one of the funnier out of context things, and I like it for that, because RPM is a dark series and it needed any levity it did, and it handled that well. But on its own, this is an uninspired one.
Also, like the fact that only two of them really transform.
Oh yeah, Bear RV just undocks its chassis, and
that's it. It gets sandwiched between two other.
And then in every other combination, it has to be placed somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is going down. I like it more than Geki Toja, but it's still low. Shinkeno Odin configuration.
This is a legitimate thing that happened.
This is a thing that happened. It is hilarious. It is also clearance.
Clearance.
Because
it's not even really a Megazord.
It is a legit combination, but it's terrible. It makes us laugh, though, so...
Yeah.
No, not Zenghydra. So it's going top of clearance.
Top of clearance.
No one was expecting that. No one was expecting that. But yeah, Shinkeno. Shinkeno slaps.
Yeah.
I don't think it's as good as Daikai Shinkeno, but for a base form, it does what it needs to. The shoulders are a bit... high up, and I think it suffers more from the asymmetry problem. Points to them for not making yellow one of the legs with this one, actually going full for blue, the blue-green leg aesthetic.
But I do like how when it docks the helmet, like that samurai helmet,
they actually show it putting it on.
Right, and also that sword,
And yeah, it's also getting downgraded because we have collected PTSD from Power Rangers Samurai, which is ironic because Shinkenger has one of the best series-wide combination schemes because they do multiple types of different combinations with all the mecha.
Yeah.
So yeah, unfortunately that does rate it lower because of that trauma, so I'm gonna put it top of acceptable.
Top of acceptable.
Gosei great. Again, this is unfortunately another one that's going to be hard a bit because of Megaforce trauma, but Megaforce only half adapted Goseiger.
Okay. Gosei Great did not deserve Megaforce.
Gosei Great did not deserve Megaforce. Because no one deserved what Megaforce was.
The header system was not a bad idea, and I will stand by any mech whose finishing move is I'm setting my sword on fire. Not CGI fire, like it's actually on fire. You know?
On David's brain, Hell Yasuko Kobayashi made Go Busters Judash and Kendra was mangled into Power Ranger Samurai. The timing is a bit off on that because they would have been... Actually, no, they would have... Samurai would have been airing by the time they were doing Go Busters, so that might have been it. And honestly, I have a lot of problems with Go Busters. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Gosei Great.
Yeah, actually, so this Toku fan number, however, whatever, said underrated, and
it is an underrated mech because you could do a few decent reconfigurations of the header system. The show does not, unfortunately, take full advantage of that much.
But it's another case of if you have the creativity in mind, you can do it. You know?
Yeah, to an extent.
To an extent, and I will give props. And also, like...
Then it's well-proportioned in every version of it I've ever seen.
And also the fact that the tail becomes the sword and how it docks in the back the way it does, you know?
Yeah, because it actually has another header dock in the sword to accommodate that.
Which is, that's some good forward thinking.
Yeah, forward thinking planning. I even like the, Hermes wings on the head. Actually, someone said it's the Thor Megazord because of that. Media Hood said that. So yeah, I want to put it, again, middle of hype. It's another mech that gets better as it gets more combinations, but it's solid on its own.
Yeah.
So I want to put it right below Biorobo because Biorobo has the better color balance.
The next one, it's not fair.
It's not fair.
It is not fair. How do you beat Gokaio?
I mean, several ways, but
like.
Yellow is a leg again.
Suck it, Yellow. But come on, Gokaio. The giant pirate robot with a cannon in its chest.
I had a pirate dream and a ninja dream, but it ended.
It's like well proportioned. The cutlasses, like
the way it utilizes the greater powers by just opening up to reveal its own treasure inside to continue the pirate theme into how it uses those powers.
And how many times we see it just casually destroying battleships, The
fact it is dynamic with its power usage so that while it still mostly promotes the main one, they do let it go around. So yeah, it is in peak.
Top of peak?
I think of the top 3 currently there are aesthetically more pleasing, though.
True.
So definitely outranking Ryuseo.
Mm-hmm. See, we love Gokaiger, but even we aren't going to,
It's not goading because it is Gokaiger.
Yeah.
Okay, Go Buster Ace.
I like Go Buster Ace.
It is acceptable. I mean, it's solid, but I think one of my problems with Go Busters is it says it's a team show. It has a smaller team with the 3-member base. It supposedly has a lot of rotation, and yet I feel like Yoko first had her first good character episode in Superhero Tyson Z because it spent too much time focused on the Red Ranger and on Enter. I really dislike several elements of Go Busters' general storytelling engine. I feel like it had potential adaptation. I've said as much in the past. Beast Morphers did not do that.
It's solid, but...
It is a solid base for building up, but I like Lio more.
Tatagami Lio really does bring more to the table by itself,
I'm ranking under Flash King. Go
clearance.
Buster. Oh, yeah.
Okay, may I pop off on this? Look, I understand that in universe there's an explanation for why this form looks the way it does. None of these mechs were designed to be combinable in the first place. I understand that. It still sucks donkey. You know, like
The way
the way of
stock together,
right,
is...
nothing. Like, heck, I even heard in the toy version itself there were clipped issues that the overall unit, the combination, couldn't support its own weight, you know? And it's just this is what happened. This is the end result of having Go Buster Ace be so well executed as it was, that like it was to the detriment of everything else. You know what I mean?
I think it actually gets better in the Go Buster King and
It does,
Go Buster,
but like I'm talking about like in the base combination.
But in this, because the next tier up has the ludicrous angle to how it handles things.
It just sucks. And that's another knock against Go Busters, in that if I'm going to suffer through like a mid tier character piece, you know, live action segments, at least give me a satisfying mecha section. And no, we're not going to get that because the mech sucks. You know?
Yeah, and the Mecha Brawls were in that series. Even though I liked the idea of the Megazord enemy system, it was executed better elsewhere. Thanks to, I know Yasuko Kobayashi did a lot of that series, but unfortunately the secondary writers that were supporting her were just not holding their weight. So outside of her story segments, I did not like a lot. I felt it was boring.
Yep.
So yeah, this is going clearance, and yeah, after Changeman Robo. Itasha Robo!
Oh yeah, Kiba Ranger.
Everybody forgets this one.
Oh, I mean, they're unofficial, so like...
They were made official by Zenkaiger, and it's still left off these lists.
Yeah.
Itasha Robo is a gag robot.
You can't...
I can't hate it, but it's not actually supposed to be functional as a robot. It is by default going for clearance, but it's like the 2017 Megazord is disqualified from being considered for donation.
Right. It's funny, though.
It is funny. It is absolutely funny. But
that's why we can't exactly hate it.
Yeah, it's basically just a transformer. It stands up. That's it. Kyoryujin!
Kyoryujin!
Okay, Dancing Samba Robot. Kyoryujin Samba specifically, it's not Obereno, unfortunately.
It's not.
One of the biggest issues with it is it never uses the drill arm to attack anything.
Which is...
It's like, it's
like, Colonel Lagan would be so upset.
The only time it is actually used as intended function is when it, Terra Rhino uses it.
Right, but, like, having a sword and a drill arm, you would think it would use both, but it doesn't.
Yeah. I mean, it's part of the snapping combination system allows it to use different arms, and for some reason, the drill arm, despite it being a drill, is not used at basically any time.
And I do see a lot of people saying, you know, go, you know, peak.
Now, I had to bring this up because it is a gripe I actually forgot to address when I reviewed Kyoryuger. Kyoryujin as a mech, though, is very aesthetically pleasing. The one issue I have with it, and I feel like it affects it more than it did Obereno, is the shoulder asymmetry, which again is a facet that is a problem due to how it combines, and I'm not going to overwhelmingly fault it for it. It's just, I don't think it is as good as Obereno.
So where do we even put it then?
It's definitely hype because it's not outrating Obereno.
Should we move Obereno to the top of bottom of peak, and then and then
because we have been kind of conservative with peak for a while.
Yeah. So,
and then I feel like the color balance of Deca Ranger Robo is better. So after Deca Ranger Robo?
After Deca Ranger Robo.
Yeah. The snapping combination system will be addressed more if we continue this list beyond this.
And now... Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
no,
yeah,
this is fucking clearance.
Clearance. It was clearly designed to sell toys.
Kyoryuger Brave is garbage. All the way around garbage. From the creative team that brought you Q Ranger.
Also, it's just too white.
No, the Brave Kyoryujin is garbage.
Garbage.
Like, the sword becomes a chainsaw, the drill is barely remodeled into a shovel. How did you even fuck that up?
Give me the drill. I don't want a shovel. I want a freaking drill.
It's like, no.
Bad media reviews. Getting out of my face.
Yeah, no, this is bottom of clearance for right now.
Yeah,
because
trash.
The 2017 mech tried something, it failed. This is not trying anything and still failing hard. Kyoryuger Brave. That failed in its intended market. Never let Shirakura touch a Sentai series again. He was the producer on that one, because this is evidence that he can't. Okay. Please stay behind the white line. Tokyo will be coming soon.
And that's the threat. He is coming for you.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tokyo.
May I drop the F-bomb? Fuck this thing. Fuck it. I hate this thing with a passion of 1,000 suns. Super Sentai and the mecha genre in general has way better train robots than this piece of garbage. It is a bunch of freaking lines just slapped together, and it barely transforms, and it's from a series that's all about imagination, but it's barely an imaginative thing. Like, what the frick were they thinking?
Her favorite Super Sentai mech is Grand Liner.
Because Grand Liner is freaking awesome.
The worst thing about this is Brave Express My Gain exists. And by the way, Brave Express My Gain is another thing Yasuko Kobayashi lifted from. Yasuko Kobayashi as a writer has this problem of obviously lifting from everything she's ever written from another source. Case in point, Shinkenger is overwhelmingly lifted from period dramas. Go Busters is overwhelmingly lifted from Rockman.exe. I'm not kidding on that. I'm going to be getting into that again when I get to Rockman.exe stream, if I end up getting to Rockman.exe stream.
But also, that boner joke, they did not, that's just proof of how bad it is, that, like, all the train mech, the Red Liner does is just fold up the way that is not an involved transformation. It is a bunch of bar-coded lines slapped together, and they called it a Megazord, and it's just...
Grand Liner, Travelion, Kyoretsu O, aka the Go Andra one, they had other train mechs in Super Sentai before this to show that this was not a first-time effort. They had done 3... I'm forgetting if there was a 4th one they'd actually done on this. And no train mech they have done after this, case in points, the King Liners, King Express from Cure Major, which is on the secondary mecha list for them. That one is more pleasing.
Okay, first off, Tokyo does have a godly theme song, which it does not deserve. It is actually a really good mech theme, but... it's like, oh wow, what kind of awesome train robot this belongs to, and then I think of this piece of shit.
No, it is absolutely clear. It deserves.
I'm
clearance.
glad that Chad is thanking me for my rant on this thing, because again, fuck this thing.
Yeah, Transformers worst trained bot is better than this. I'm certain which one they consider the worst trained bot in.
But I think even the worst trained bot in Transformers is better than that crap.
Yeah. Oh, and it has the shoulder problem again that came up with Miteki Shogun.
Do nothing.
The shoulders that do nothing.
It is just bulky. Like, you have all that shoulder retail space, and you do nothing with it. No weapon docking system. No missile pods. No nothing.
Now, some people who might bring up Transformers might point out that this same shoulder aesthetic was done with Megatron in Armada and Energon. But those served a point. Those were part of the transformation scheme, and could hold minicons in those. They allowed for additional docking points. They gave the right aesthetic. Hell, in Energon, they were a pair of cannons that were just pointed upwards when not in use. This does not afford the same luxuries.
And HA5 says, I just assumed it appeared to be lines up like a rainbow. That's the only other thing that makes me pissed off about this. ToQger, for a show about imagination, is disturbingly lacking in imagination.
Yeah, they have more... I pointed this out when I reviewed Kyoryuger versus ToQger, because that was part of my Kyoryuger-thon in 2017 about how bad it got when anyone else but Riku Sanjo touched the series. But their entire show, they have more commonly used delusions instead of actual imagination. The Akiba Ranger were more imaginative in what they did with what they had than the ToQger were. And in fact, that led to someone Patreoning me to review Akiba Ranger 2018. It is among the older videos, and I'm not sure if that one's still up. Because I've lost the part 2 of that one because of damage it was suffered. But nonetheless, this was part of the series-wide issues ToQger had in being amazingly uninspired and basic.
I sorry I had to rant as I did, but if this doesn't go donate, I don't know what it.
On David Lab again, apparently Kobayashi made ToQger the way it was to slam Akiba Ranger. It would not surprise me, considering she has a bad relationship with working relationship with Inoue. So to hear that she has bad relationships with other creatives just in general, especially Naruhisa Arakawa, because he is the lore master of Super Sentai, it would not surprise me. I have always equated it to Go Busters, and ToQger's problems were just sheerly out of overwork, because those years she was doing those series, she was doing at least 2 other shows at the same time, either original writing or adaptation. In specific, the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure adaptations.
Right, and to her credit, she does make... Yasuko Kobayashi did adapt those scripts well, so I am not entirely throwing her under the bus, but
then you have stuff like Amazons, where there were no excuses, that was indefensible. And some of her other original writing work where it's not been received very well. And once you get the angle that she tends to take material from other authors and remixes it, she does not plagiarize, I want to make that clear. But if you know where she got the ideas from that she expanded on into her series, you find that those series end up lacking. Like Shinkenger and Time Ranger are badass, but you compare Ryuki to any other Battle Royale series and it is found to be inferior.
Yeah, but basically, I'm free around to kill this guy.
Damn. Clearance.
Bottom of clearance.
Bottom of clearance. What do we even say? What do we even say?
It sucks.
Like, this... Okay, color balance, it's fine, but this is one of the worst in concept Super Sentai mecha. Like, again, I've mentioned before, I have been picking up mini plus sets. I've actually picked up every mini plus set from Geki Ranger to current date, simply because I want stuff to build and I want to study the engineering of them. This includes Shurikenjin. I actually got from Bai the fucking throne, but this is a chair in a chair. It becomes chairception, and it's a terrible aesthetic.
I see the chat. It
toss leftovers in the trash. Like, I was very tempted to put Ninja as its own category as well.
But no, it needed to stack up against ToQger.
It's like
it's just a dude in a chair, and it sucks.
Yeah. The fact that the dude transforms into an arm to swap around does not help it, because...
Like, what is that?
That is Shurikenjin empty.
No, I know what it is. I'm just saying, like, what were they thinking?
Were they thinking? Because, like, you could have the smaller mecha jump out, and then instead of double teaming it, this thing on its own is actually worse than Shurikenjin base, even though it has the better color balance, because you know what the problem with this one is? It needs a pilot in the chair.
Yeah.
It cannot operate autonomously.
Which is kind of which a robot kind of needs to do in an emergency,
Because it's like, where is the cockpit then? You would think it's in the Shuriken because of how they dock on, but the Shuriken's right there and it's not working because there's not the lesser robot in it.
Yeah. So what the
Mm-hmm. It's like, no, this is actually, I think this is actually worse. Because it shows why Shurikenjin is just a garbage mech, and they had to completely swap the aesthetic in getting Gekiyatsu Daio.
The Terror of Death. You've done ninjas 2 times at this point, and this is what you came up with? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
both ninja series are better. The Kaku Ranger had the pop culture, the social commentary angle, which admittedly I didn't get when I watched Kaku Ranger, which informs my disdain of it. But Hurricaneger was modern ninja. It's like how a ninja would operate in the modern day with all these technological advancements and fight things in the modern day. Admittedly, it was still space aliens, but that still works for that.
Yeah.
So taking it into the modern era, that's fine. But then you get Ninja, and everything it's doing is fantasy ninja and trying to pull off the hype of Naruto at a time period where people were really against Naruto because of its story issues.
We are the ninjas that do not hide.
No.
That statement from Bakaharu alone.
And I hate that it got the cameos from the characters it did. It did not deserve all that push for it because this is arguably the worst on the anniversary year Sentai series.
Okay, but before we continue, Luca Baldazzi, well, at least it's not King Pyramiter. Hey, you take that slander out of your mouth, young person, okay? King Pyramiter may not be the best transforming based robot out there, but it's still a giant robot pyramid, which I would take 1,000,000 of those over whatever that is.
Yeah, the King Pyramiter at least has the aesthetic of everything docks into it to power it.
Right.
Now, that all said, Shurikenjin Drago
That's not bad.
It rates higher on this.
It rates higher.
It tries it. The toy mode for this is absolute garbage. Because it cannot stand.
Which, if the toy version can't stand, then it's worthless,
Yeah. Thomas Proctor, they really missed the right time window to bank on Naruto. I kind of swear that Naruto was made after Masashi Kishimoto watched Hurricaneger, because I think that was the actual timing around that.
Possibly. But anyways.
But yeah, this is not...
We've ranted enough about...
Aesthetically, it's better than, like, Brave Kyoryujin, but again, there are things worse than the 2017 Megazord.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's be fair. Minecraft theme.
Mm-hmm.
I actually like Duo King because of that. It's the DX toy for it is garbage. You need to buy the mini plug Duo King to have any appreciation of what it actually does.
So can the Zuo Cube do anything?
The Zuo Cube can do anything.
Can the Zuo Cube cure cancer?
The Zuo Cube can do anything. It better, because I hate that fucking end arc for it because the Doctor Dad is an asshole and I wanted the series to fucking acknowledge it. So seriously, fuck Junko Komura. She has fucked up every series she has ever been the main writer for.
Top of
I want to say bottom of uninspired.
Bottom of uninspired, yeah.
Okay, there are actually a couple Duo King entries because Duo King was the previous one was 1, 2, 3. This is 1, 5, 4. Tigerty. I actually like this more.
Yeah.
Because of the non-standard color contrast and because the tiger knee claws actually do something. Dustin Simone, Naruto was first published in 1999. Okay, so it's actually the reverse.
Yeah.
But yeah, Naruto is not good. Boruto is worse. Boruto has no reason to exist. But back on this, I like this more than 1, 2, 3.
I'm just gonna say Tiger Knee as many times as I can before you punch me. Tiger Knee.
Duo King 1, 2, 4. I kind of feel like this is a bit worse because you don't see it on the standard combination, but the tops of lion knees are actually on the dolphin. Shark. Why did I say
shark.
dolphin?
But it's just new feet.
It's just new feet.
At least the tiger combination did something.
Yeah, bottom of uninspired. And now we get the funny one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm not sure about you, but this is the most goat machine on this list. Like, look at the divine perfection totem pole that we have before us.
Here's the thing, though. It can't separate its legs. By the tiger is a crotch. So it has feet. It has legs, dock to feet, dock to larger feet, dock to another torso.
What kind of atrocities is this?
This is the Human Centipede movies.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's like, no, this is worse.
Yeah. It's funny though.
Okay. You all knew this was coming. If you've watched my show long enough, you know my feelings on the show. Q Ranger is absolute garbage. That said, why did they get this mech?
This mech...
Q Reno 13579 is aesthetically perfect.
It is Scramble City.
I adore Scramble City combinations, but if you actually go on websites that sell the Q Ranger mechs in person, they're selling for 1,000 yen.
Nobody, like...
Q Ranger had the largest merchandise line Super Sentai's ever done. Larger than Gokaiger with all the Ranger keys, larger than anybody else. It only made slightly more than Zyuohger. It had more than 3 times the merchandise put out as Zyuohger, and it only made slightly more. Now, merchandise sales are not representative of the success, are not exactly representative of what a show is. It does, however, it doesn't say it does. It can represent how people feel about it, because if people hate a show, they are less likely to buy merchandise of it. You can buy the DX toy from this show for 1,000 yen. Going by conversion, that's about $6.
That says a lot.
That says a lot. No, stores were flooded with these damn things, and they didn't go off the shelves. Q Ranger. Like I know some people like Q Ranger. I hate it because I am a big sci-fi fan, and everything it tried to do sci-fi, in my opinion, it fucked up. It played into the worst recurring tropes of Japanese media. The Cuervo, I believe I'm getting the character's name, plotline, was one of the most obvious of those because crows and ravens in Japanese media are almost overwhelmingly used as traitors to their original causes. They were literally gaslighting this from the start that he was one of the villains, and their utilization of it was terrible. That is just one example. And that's not even getting into a bunch of Dumb Luck's nonsense, because he supersedes everyone else on the show.
David Spring said it best. Dumb Luck destroyed any chance of this merch selling. Like,
yeah, Dumb Luck destroyed any chance of its merch selling.
Like, okay, just watch first. If you haven't seen Q Ranger, don't. You gotta treat yourself better than that. But say that you were curious, watch episode 1. Like,
by episode 5, so many people dropped it because the Dumb Luck was encouraging people to kill themselves.
No, like, but also in episode 1, Dumb Luck somehow survives a meteor re-entry while surfing on it,
and then later is ejected up into space and somehow does not die.
Right. It tries so hard to convince you that he is an awesome person and an awesome character, but this seems like a 5-year-old's interpretation of what awesome looks like.
Because the problem is consistently that it keeps taking over other people's story arcs, supersedes their importance. It's like, it gets to be too much. And again, by episode 5, he is telling people to kill themselves, actually commit suicide if they do not do things his way. And the show is constantly bending over backwards to justify that he is right, even though, independently of that, he's presenting everything he does in ways that are generally overwhelmingly wrong.
Do you remember that time when Lucky completely abandoned his people just off somewhere?
Oh yeah, and they went back to see how bad that was, and that the show never actually recognized that he is the cause of all their suffering, just to get him a super power up for his mecha, because that was apparently his pet all this time. And of course, higher tier mechas for the show are garbage. Q Reno was honestly the best thing they did all season.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that by the end of the series, 11 members of the 12-man Sentai team could team up and fight against the big bad and not have a chance to defeat him And yet Lucky comes back in solo and defeats it because the power and person absorbing monster who just explicitly knows not to overabsorb and has a capacity to contain everything in the universe suddenly is full.
Because reasons.
It's like, I know people are mad about Cosmic Fury not using the suits in its adaptation. Frankly, I feel like Cosmic Fury should not have been done. Period. It's especially after the sin that will not be forgiven of them bringing back Lord Zed in the circumstances they did after Robert Axelrod's death.
All right, but
that's not here nor there.
Where are we putting
Hirano? I like Hirano. It deserved to be in a better series, but everything around it just holds it back too much. I feel like it is acceptable. Mid-tier acceptable. After Daijujin. Hirano 2468.
Same. I would put it right after it.
Yeah,
just to get it on.
Yeah, we will have to revisit Hirano's combinations because of how all of its arms can be to either side and also feet. So this will be revisited in the armaments one if we do the armaments one, but I had to do 2 versions of Hirano simply because of it's technically a main form, even though it's only that 2468 only shows up in Cho Superhero Tyson. It's the other 4 main members.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
anyways, on to better news.
Okay, Lupin Kaiser.
Lupin Kaiser.
I like it.
This one is the better aesthetic of the 2 Lupat mechs, even though Lupat is not a great series itself.
But let's not try to dwell on like Lup. Let's look at the mech before us.
Yeah, it is the first 4-point combination mech in Super Sentai, and considering this is series 42, that was surprising it took that long.
Mm-hmm. I like the Gatling gun buzzsaw combination. That's like a very unique combination of weaponry right there.
Yeah, the other problem is like they very rarely in these have hands. Like there's only 1 or 2 weapons I think that actually require them be held.
Like I think it's a case of you'd think it would have hands, but it doesn't have hands.
Yeah, I believe that's the Blade Dial fighter that's part of the Scissors stealth fighter, and also Lupin Kaiser Rex. Lupin Rex. But yeah, this is it's fair. I think it's acceptable.
Yeah.
It's not topping Daijujin though.
Mm-hmm. So should we put like, Accepto's getting pretty crowded. Should we?
I'm moving down Hurrier.
Yeah.
Okay. Pat Kaiser.
I have Pat Kaiser, and I got it because I like for one, it actually has hands, and the baton.
It fakes having hands.
But I like it a bit more, but that's just me. But I kind of want to knock it a few points because the main pilot is a smeghead.
Yeah. Patra and Ichigo, I'm forgetting his name. We watched the Ryu Soldier. Keiichiro. We watched the Ryu Soldier versus Lupat movie last night as well, part of Everything Ryu Soldier, and he was the one that dragged down everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is another example of Junko Komura not handling characterization well, and because the entire series long, the Pat Ranger are guilty of police brutality in the entire time because they keep attacking to arrest for no visible reason, and they keep trying to write off as the brass, but the guy who keeps insisting on them doing it, in the moments he do it, he's not exactly getting direct orders from the brass to do it. Like the most the Lupin Ranger are guilty of in the entire series long are humiliating the police, and that's not a criminal act. Anything else they do that is criminal is against other criminals. In fact, criminals not of this planet, so they're not under the
Earthian
jurisdiction to have them counted as people stolen against by the thieves, or they're only resisting arrest from unlawful prosecution. Like it's entire series long.
May I before you rank this guy, to give an example, in the Ryu Soldier versus Lupat movie, the whole reason, like, Keiichiro arrests Bamba and Toa, who are
The
just
black and green.
yeah,
of
the black and
Ryusoulger
green of the
team.
group, who are just standing around looking for a Minosaur, and they have their swords out. They are not harming anybody. For all anybody else can know, they're cosplayers, and then they get arrested.
Yeah, and the worst
For
thing about
what?
that is there's no stating of any weapons laws they would have broken, or them asking are those real or not, or asking them to bring them in because of telling them, hey, you're violating this and this. It's like, hey, you have real weapons, you're under arrest, and it's like, why?
And
It's all series long.
yeah, and if Lupin was made to capitalize on Persona 5, wow, talk about a freaking misfire.
Yeah, they screwed that up. It's actually in the review I've written for Persona 5 that how badly they fucked it up, because they never stop what made the show bad.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that docks Pat Kaiser down
To clearance.
No, it's not going to dock it that far down, but it is bottom of unexpired, because it's not top of unexpired.
But now for something I think you'll really enjoy. My boy, Terra.
I love this gif.
Ah!
Kishiryo.
I think he's better than Ryuseo.
He is.
The
Lego docking system they did for that, they used it really well all series long.
Because look, it can have drill knees, it can have cannon arms, it can use its tail as a whip. And this
is the base form.
That's just the base form. Kishi Ryu-Oh, as it is so armed to the teeth. No pun intended. I swear. My puns are more dynamite than that.
Rex, fight me.
No. No, did you hear what I said? Dynamite?
Yes, because that is his first finishing move. In fact, it has a tail blade on its back that it can swap into this too.
Yeah.
Grab it.
Oh, yeah. Good thing I get this out.
For her birthday, I got Alexis the Ryusoulger mini plot for 5 nights in Dime Volcano.
Yeah, can you see that?
They can.
Yeah. Look at this guy. Look at this monstrosity that I made. Yeah.
The ironic thing is the 5 nights in Dime Volcano set is actually the most difficult to get of the mini plot, because it is still that in demand.
Yeah, it's like, let me try to get closer. This thing is so cool. I love it.
Yeah. So this is the Kishi Ryu system. Just for fair warning, if we do more of these streams past this, they're going to be ranking highly. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely outranking Ryuseo, but it just Kishi Ryu on its own does not do enough, even though it has 6 different things it can reconfigure around its body on its own. It's like you can have the drills point forward, you can have the drill punch, you can have the drill knee, you can have cannon shoulders, you can have the tail whip, you can have
whatever your imagination.
You can mount Tiramigo's head to a knee and have a biting knee.
Yeah,
shark biting knee. It is that good.
Mm-hmm.
Kishirio Fortress though.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, Thomas Proctor. I mean, my birthday was last Friday, but I still appreciate it.
Yeah, Kishirio Fortress though.
Clearance.
It's a consistent thing with all the carrier modes. It's top of clearance, but it's like,
why?
Tiramigo just lays down and then
backwards,
and then Ankylos and Triken just sit down with him, and then they roll across the floor as if this were the Godzilla movie where it flew by using its thermonuclear breath. It's like,
which is a goat move. That is a mode of travel. Okay.
By the way, them getting Masaki Terasoma to voice Tiramigo was hilarious.
Also, Tiramigo is my son. He is my baby boy. He is a cute T-Rex who just loves children. He goes around helping people and stuff, and he's adorable. He's like Guillemon.
He has that same energy. Kishirio 3 nights.
Hype.
I'm gonna put it under Kyoryujin.
Yeah.
Simply because Kyoryujin, even though it didn't use the drill, technically can do more. But yeah, we gushed enough to... by the way, these are the only 4 configurations of Kishirio we're doing. Five Nights at Freddy's. Because they are all redhead mounted without going to any of the other acquisition ones. It's the main five team members mechs. So, and honestly, base 5 Nights is not as good as 3 Nights in my opinion, for the sole reason of it's not utilizing all the extra parts that really Tiger Lance and Mill Needle actually make available to them.
We're not saying it's bad. It's just when you realize the potential combinations you could make, then it becomes lacking.
Yeah, and because you can keep the Tiger Lance pauldrons instead of doing it as additional skirt armor. You can keep them on the top of the shins as they did in the Mill Needle mode to add more thrust and speed, and then put Mill Needle in as Mill Needle's head as the crotch piece.
That shield though.
Yeah, that shield though.
Yeah. Come on, T-Rex shield.
Yeah. I actually didn't really think of it that way, the way they used it in the show when I built my mini of it. I kept Tiramigo's head in the core. Then the show showed me that, you know what, swapping where the drill cannons are to put Tiramigo's head back on, that might not have been the best way to do it, and the show was actually wiser than I thought about it. Yeah, on David's brain, 5 Nights is far too busy compared to 3. It is, so it's not rating as highly, but it's still in hype simply because the Kishiryu combination system is just that good.
Also, I'm really happy that chat's being engaging today.
Yeah. So I'm going to rate it above Leopardon. Honestly, we've been pretty fair with not overloading Peak.
Yeah, it's so because again, we want to make sure Peak remains like the best of the best Sentai has to offer, but we don't want to put everything in Peak,
Yeah. Moving on, Sky Mage. I like that they did this.
Yeah, it's cool. It's neat.
Yeah. But as much as I like it, it's like using 2 of them, and it's... How should I phrase this? It's an option, but it's not a full mecha, so it is a bit uninspired.
Yeah. But top of uninspired.
Top of uninspired. Why does it keep docking like that there when I try to swap in? Land Mage is...
Same position.
Yeah, it's about the same. I'll put it above Sky Mage simply because it's an actual suit.
Right. However,
Kira Amazing is a lot better. I find it in the middle of acceptable, even though it's just the helicopter docking on the torso for the torso armor, docking on the torso for the torso armor. Even just like that, it feels like it helps the aesthetic balance, and also just blue becoming a sword that does dock it points from being even a hype tier. Because Kira Maging is a very solid mech.
Yeah, it's solid. It's solid.
But I think aesthetically it is worse than Gingo, because Gingo still has the shoulders that help its upper torso pop. I think it has... Actually, I'm going to put it in between the 2 Gingos, simply because I feel it's... even though I'm forgetting the fire engine's name.
But yeah, the fire, whatever.
Yeah, I feel like he gave a better building block aesthetic to it, or the block, not building block. It built a better foundation for the rest to dock onto them than
Kira Crystal. I'm surprised you didn't use the pick of Chris Yukine as Kira Meijin.
I forgot.
Slapped you upside the head.
It's like I was rushing to get this done.
He has a legitimate excuse, people, okay?
Yeah, I had to redo this right before we started streaming. That's why we started a minute or 2 late, because I was trying to get everything in order. But it is now time to fill the Zenkaiger category.
So you know the symmetrical docking system from Gao Gaigar? They're flirting with me when they do that. This is harassment.
Yeah. I almost pulled the Super Robot Wars, symmetrical docking is declared, then it's the boob squish of the two girls, and then Cho Ryujin appears, and Mazinger in the background goes, wait, what? But I feel like this did not deserve that effort.
No, listen, why would you give more effort to Zenkaiger than Zenkaiger actually did?
Yeah. It's like, here's the thing. There are 4 Zenkaiger mechs here right now. This is the best one. I feel like this is the best one because it has a sword and a shield, and it's the aesthetics of its combination do not entirely get in the way of everything else.
I got the mini plus for a reason. I think it actually is what it's setting out to do pretty well. Yeah.
The color balance though is arguably the worst because the red-yellow split is not.
It's hard on the eyes.
It is. Hell, even in when Gao Geiger did it, it paired the yellow member of the combinations with green and blue because that is a better contrast because those are both cooler characters instead of hot color and hot color. Gao Geiger also has the advantage of it's either complementary or contrasting aesthetics to its combinations. Cho Ryujin was super defensive and had ranged double cannons. Geki Ryujin was more offensive. It had a better balance of offense and defense. Gen Ryujin had the special abilities with illusions, even though it was a defensive ranged fighter, and Go Ryujin was a lot more physically strong.
On David's brain, we have Gao Geiger at home. Gao Geiger at home.
Yeah. But yeah, Zenkaiger gets its own category because I would be more hostile than I would like to be towards it because these sold horribly.
Like, Zenkaiger is a special kind of bad that you have to discuss it in its own category.
Yeah. And it's like some might cite Cura Major also not selling great. Cura Major has the defense of the pandemic.
And its mech line wasn't like robust, you know.
Yeah. Zenkaiger, though, people didn't like the show. It's like, I know there are people who did like the show. We're not among them, and that was not the popular opinion. You can get these for as cheap as Q Rangers mechs.
That should tell you something.
Vrumagene.
Below.
This is definitely below. It's like, okay, it has the wheels, it has the wings, but why do you need the wheels if you have the wings? And then why
does Sonic have a race car?
No. The question is, why does Shadow have a motorcycle?
That's a good question.
Because he is the ultimate badass! Mm-hmm. The ultimate badass only drives at 55 miles an hour. Yes. But yeah, Vrumagene does not work the pink and blue. It might be a hot color and a cold color, but the shades they use are just horrible. And the way they unfold across the entire combination gimmicks for these are just, no. It's unfair to contrast against the Brave series, but you got to remember for a lot of the Brave series, Takara is not that intelligent with a lot of its engineering for those. They were sold on how they were in the anime more than they were on the toys, and then Bandai re-engineered them into better toys, but these are consistently worse than Takara versions. It's specifically because of how they unfold. Like, their triple changing combiners, they do this worse than they did in the 90s. So, yeah, Vrumagene is bad. Yep. And then you get the CGI exclusive ones. Like, they only used these once or twice, and then kept to the pre-existing true aesthetics. Now, I actually think that, what's the name? I have them listed down here. I'm just scrolling down the document. Juramagine actually works better with pink and red than the pink and blue, and the flight gimmick is decent, but then it doesn't really do anything with it, and it comes down to how Majin is generally one of the two worst engineered of the lot of them.
And finally,
Vrugone, yeah. It's like, no, it's skating. Just stop skating.
Stop it.
Stop it. Stop it.
Stop it.
Stop it.
Okay,
stop now...
Don Onitaijin.
I chose this image on purpose. I don't like Onitaijin. Also, yellow as a leg again.
Poor Oni's sister.
It's like the fact they're in pain when they combine. At least they're not orgasming robots like a Quarion.
I mean, is that worse or better? But okay, I want to give I know you hate Oni Taijin. I'm indifferent to it, but let me play like
Devil's advocate
for a second. It is the first mech in Super Sentai history where the DX toy was truly fully posable in a 5-point combining state. I mean, Kishi Ryuo by itself was posable. What I mean is like
Kishi Ryuo is its own body that everything else docks onto. Yeah,
right. But like in terms of 5-point combiners, Super Sentai had this problem where things that should have knee bending or
knee or elbow articulation,
but it never didn't have it for some reason. Don Oni Taijin was the first time where a mech, when it was fully combined, was just as posable as like an action figure. And I think
like any of the previous Sentai mechs that had two of the mechs become boots for the legs, they should have had a knee joint in there. O-Ranger Robo, one of the biggest ones on that.
Especially. So, like, for that alone, this is the warning, the signal flare that things were shifting with the DX toys.
Yeah, the Bandai was finally going to try and do better. Because
Takara
had actually done this with the the Combiner Wars line, where they had movable knees in them. I have a few of them. And their problem was the combining scheme for the hands and feet made it so that you couldn't really take advantage of them having full articulation range. This is the counterpoint argument to that, and it does give it points. It's just like, I generally do not have any interest in the story of Momotaro, and I have disliked series that have used it as a basis for a motive.
So
also, the red is another example of stealth asshole, but it's handled better than Lucky is.
Right. At least, like, it's kind of done with an intent, if that makes any sense. Like, let me put it this way. If Lucky was written to be, like...
Kirino, that's another one that should have had arm and knee articulation, yet doesn't.
But, how should I put this? Lucky was... The writers thought he was lovable and everybody would like him, but he's actually a unlikable jerk. Versus,
and then they repeated that with ZL.
Yeah, but with Momotaro's, it was clear that that was the intention from the start.
Yeah, so,
like, whether you like that or not, it's up to you. But like, at least it was intended to do that. You know what I mean?
Also, we didn't watch Dom Brothers. You just like know with that creative staff, but props to them for building up to this.
Yeah.
So we're not placing in clearance. We're putting it acceptable.
Acceptable.
But, again, Daizujin, because I think it's aesthetically worse than Daizujin.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the Daizujin Mini-Plot does have articulated knees, so win there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You know what's coming. King Oja! Yeah, it gets its own category for a reason. This is taking what was done right with Don Oni Taijin and taking up to the next level with a 10-point combination scheme. It's like it slaps. This had a legitimate contention for being the GOAT.
Like, if it wasn't so recent, it would be the GOAT. But like when we first heard word about like King Oger, and we heard it was going to be a 10-point combination, we were worried. You know,
yeah,
right?
Because it could have been too busy. It could have been too spindly. But having the 5 main mechs and then having the 5 lessers become additional pieces to its armor and combination, that was perfect.
And every time when it combines, it like those extra pieces don't get discarded off into some void. No, they just rearrange themselves somewhere on the mech. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, admittedly, the upper torso spider does get covered and become the combination joint for Hopper. Mm-hmm. So that works out. But both of the ladybugs, like, they could redock anywhere on those similar connection points.
Yeah.
And that's one of my critiques of King Oger with its mecha, in that it doesn't really use the various limb combinations that are possible from the redocks as well as it could. Like, instead of one of the ladybugs docking onto Kabuto, they could swap in Snail, or have Cicada come in to dock on top of Scorpion, so you have like an actual five-fingered claw.
I wouldn't say that might be a budgetary reason, but that's all. But
it could be because they've generally been focusing more on the characters, and there's been a long stretch of time where none of the King Oger mecha combinations have made appearances, and I'm completely fine with that. As if it serves the story, if it makes the story better, I am completely fine with not having a mech fight every episode, and I'm glad a Sentai series finally came to understand and acknowledge that, because I feel like that was one of the worst things in Ninja, where they would just have a monster go giant and then spam a combination and stock footage for one of the form attacks just to do a mandatory requirement battle. It was, I think it's that's another reason why Ninja is bottom tier for Super Sentai overall, in that it used everything it had horribly.
Plumfadoodle said, I was impressed when they actually did something with the ant when God King Oger formed. And it's like, yeah!
They forgot that there was a thing in the first few episodes where ants was actually important to charging up the sword's power.
Yeah. So when God King Oger does his big epic anime slash,
it's actually drawing the power of everybody together. And it's also pointing out that, hey, we kind of stopped using the main sword very early in the combinations. It's like you swapped to using super energy blasts and forgot that the sword is actually a really cool thing too.
Yeah.
The drawback to that is God King Oger should be able to use every single ability it has docked onto it, and it is mainly reliant on the sword because of stock footage. But I'm not going to dock it that much for that.
So what's next?
The last one on the list is Done King Oger. That is literally just the done.
I mean, where else is it
head on King Oger.
Yeah, where else is it gonna go? Yeah.
I dislike the Don Oni Taijin head.
Yeah, so...
And it throws off the aesthetic, so... But the rest of King Oger is so cool, so I think it's acceptable.
Yeah. I think
it's... Like, considering it throws off the aesthetic so much, I think it's bottom of acceptable.
Mm-hmm. But now we are now in the end game.
Yeah. We have to decide on what is actually... Okay, no, I'm not going to rate the empty Shurikenjin as the worst.
Okay,
mech.
let's actually talk about this for a moment.
Let's start with clearance.
Let's start with clearance. I think it's easier to talk about clearance. I think right off the bat, it's a question of which sucks more, Shurikenjin or Tokyo.
Tokyo, does it get better as it combines?
I like, as much as I ranted and raved against Tokyo, I would say in a weird sense it does get slightly better. Not by much, but slightly better.
I mean, at least it has a standard limb conversion gimmick with pink and yellow swapping out for other abilities. Whereas if Shurikenjin swaps out its armaments, it's just getting a different pilot in the chair. And the best of those aesthetics is the Dino one, which they use once because it's the movie exclusive. And by the way, the mini plug for that is garbage because it's all clear plastic.
But
and you know, clear plastic syndrome is a very high indicator of a figure going to self-destruct at some point.
Okay.
So I'm not going to do it chairless.
So like, I think we should leave clearance for the chat.
Yeah. So yeah, do you want it to be Tokyo or Shurikenjin that goes to donate?
And also, before you decide, the reason why it's down to those two is because all the other ones are clearance in the respect of you could ignore it, or it's in a bin somewhere to collect dust, but it might have its fans, right? No, Tokyo and Shurikenjin fundamentally are flawed in design and purpose, you know, or like they screw up in some major way, you know.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm thinking that Chad is agreeing with us, considering everyone was raging against it earlier as well, that Shurikenjin gets the donate as the worst Super Sentai and Power Ranger mech of them all to date, with us judging everything before Boon Boonger. Peak, however,
That's tough. What do we do, man?
I don't think we can say
who is your favorite
Ryu Soldier. Don't think we can say Kishibe because for us, we just watched the series for the first time. It is too soon for that. It is definitely up there. I don't think we can give it to Gokai O either because it's a Mega Force.
Mega Force. It got Super Mega Forced.
Yeah, which leaves it as okay. Again, we kind of have to give it up to the chat because I'm overwhelmingly for Time Ranger Robo. You will be overwhelmingly for Victory Robo.
Okay.
And our middleman agreement would be Galaxy Mega.
All right, so chat, we are leaving it to you. What do you think is the peak, looking at our peak tier list, what is the best mech in all Super Sentai?
And Power Rangers.
And Power Rangers.
And I think we're going to have to wait a bit for the chat to actually catch up to us. 2 votes, Galaxy Mega. 3 votes, Galaxy Mega. 1 vote, Victory Robo.
I'll send the check to your mailbox later.
4 votes, Galaxy Mega. 2 votes, Time Robo. 5 votes, Galaxy Mega. We're going Galaxy Mega. That's overwhelming.
Yeah, that's a yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not upset by that.
Yeah, and honestly, the way we distribute it, it's about even. I think we can actually bump Deca Ranger Robo up to peak because of it. And because otherwise this is a fair bell curve.
Yeah. And oh, it kind of looks like a sword. Like when you turn your head, it kind of resembles a building or a sword.
With
the tier list.
Oh yeah, that's how bell curves work.
Yeah,
because it's turned at 90 degrees and it forms the shape of a bell.
But it's like, okay, but Galaxy Mega being the GOAT, I am not upset by because it succeeds in every front that it sets out to do, and when it combines, oh, does it take the peak and skyrocket even higher?
And not to mention that it being a spaceship gave the storytelling avenue for so much of what made Power Rangers in Space a memorable series, and left that impact on anyone who watched the original Saban era of it being one of the rank 10 absolute best series of Power Rangers overall. So it has that legacy to it just by its aesthetic and
actually
design.
If you also think about it, Galaxy Mega was our first exposure to a single standalone transforming mech. Or okay, I mean Ryuseo, but like in regards to like, no, Galaxy Mega was our main mech. You know what I mean?
Yeah. On David Lab, too bad we can't include the Mega Voyager. Yeah, that would be a final mecha list if we get that far. Final and ultimate combination mecha list. But so yeah,
I would say I would say save the image of that and like
download. Download image. And my image. It is now saved.
Yep, and then we'll for the sake of everyone, we'll post this to Twitter.
Yeah,
do you think
we will post this to Twitter alongside a link of the complete video after we finish the stream? Again, we intend to do more of these. We might not do them week to week, maybe every other week or every so often, because again, 9 to 10 categories for everything. Yeah, and it took me a while to actually put together the image list. It gives me more respect to. It makes me give more respect to TJ Omega for doing these pretty regularly with Transformers, and just the fun of Team 4 Stars like random topic rankings. And it's like, I figured since I'm less doing Toku reviews now, basically nothing, or talking about them tangentially on top of other stuff instead of reviewing the series themselves because of Toei's bullshit and caustic fandom bullshit that I don't want to be involved in anymore, I figure this is a better middleman for us because we could do this with a bunch of topics.
Oh yeah, and at the end of the day, if we discussed a mech on this list or put something in acceptable that you were like a big fan of, then that's perfectly okay, you know?
Like, acceptable and up, we like it. Uninspired is just they have something detracting from them, but could otherwise be fine. Clearance is the genuinely bad stuff.
Flame Lord 235 or 325, Victory Robo Stand, Go 5 best year for Mecha, don't at me. Hey, listen, you don't have listen.
Look, listen. Spoilers for the secondary Mecha list, it's likely going to be Grand Liner's the GOAT.
I will fight anyone who disagrees with me on that.
Yeah.
Like, but
we might not use this setup for the next one because difficulties with green screen, you can probably see it fraying at the bottoms.
But like, hey, we wanted to do the green screen because this guy's finally on vacation.
I am on vacation. I am off for 6 consecutive weeks.
He's free. He's free as a bird.
I am off for 11% of a full year.
He can do so much he has so much power now.
I am probably going to be stuck in the continuously in January in the editing booth, so I can start releasing next year's videos in March, which is going to start with a massive Code Geass retrospective, and I'm still getting details and updating that because goddamn, so many things have echoed the series that I need to actually address in the videos. Not to mention the G-Witch nonsense, but that has thankfully been reversed thanks to Bandai. Sunrise caused the bad situation. In the start of it, it's not as well known because Sunrise is now Bandai Namco Studios. It is part of a pattern of misconduct from Sunrise to do it, though. It is not Bandai's fault. Bandai has now reversed it. Thank you, Bandai.
But I am also thankful for you, chat, for showing up and being as active as you were, because like this tier list wouldn't be as fun without like you guys reacting to.
Yeah. We will try and do at least another one of these when I am on vacation, though. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for showing up.